SNOWTRAX is sponsored by Ski-Doo Snowmobiles, Yamaha, revs your heart, MBRP Performance Exhaust, built for the victory lap, and by iPone Lubricants, exclusively distributed by Parts Canada.
The time has come yet again for me to reveal SNOWTRAX TV's real-world sled of the year. And for anyone who's watched SNOWTRAX TV in the past, you already know how this is done. For any new viewers though, here's a brief overview of what's about to happen. Here at SNOWTRAX, we don't believe picking a sled of the year means anything at all if we haven't ridden all of the top contenders for a full season. That's why, unlike other snowmobile media outlets, we pick our winner at the end of the year. At this point in the season, we have thousands of miles on each of our test sleds. Our long list of trusted test riders have ridden them across a wide range of different trails and conditions and developed strong opinions based on real miles ridden. The sleds we considered for this year's Sled of the Year award are Yamaha's Sidewinder LTX LE, Arctic Cat's Thundercat, Ski-Doo's Renegade XRS 850 with SmartShocks, the Lynx Rave RE, and Polaris's XCR 850. Interestingly, these all have 137-inch track lengths. The Sidewinder and the Thundercat are, for all intents and purposes, unchanged from 2021 to 2022. The riding experience we've all had on both of these sleds is essentially the same as it was last season. They are both great sleds that all of our test riders were happy to ride, but the reason they didn't win last season hasn't changed this season. With that said, this also goes for Ski-Doo's Renegade XRS. SmartShocks is definitely great technology, and it does have a positive effect on the sled in terms of ride and handling in most circumstances. This is technology that we see changing the future of snowmobiling. But in this case, it didn't change the things about this sled that left it in the runner-up position last season. Does this mean the Renegade XRS isn't a good sled? Of course that's not what it means. But when we're forced to whittle down the comments from all of our test riders, the truth is undeniable. And the truth is this. Of all the sleds in our test fleet this season, the two that everyone wanted to ride the most were Polaris's XCR 850 and the Lynx Rave, as they prefer for it to be called, RE 850 ATAC. Now let's find out why by looking at what makes these sleds great, and let's start with the XCR. Last season, Polaris's Matrix chassis with their awesome 650 Patriot under the hood took home our Sled of the Year title. This was largely due to the incredible ergonomics and handling of the Matrix chassis. For 2022, the XCR gets all of that same goodness, but with even better and more versatile ride characteristics and a more playful attitude. The 850 Patriot is, in a word, stellar. It's got excellent bottom end grunt, yet it remains completely smooth and controllable for regular trail riding. It's not terrible when it comes to economy, and it sounds awesome. From a ride quality perspective, the XCR is every bit as good as last season's VR1, but gets the added versatility of high and low speed compression and rebound damping adjustments, as well as overall stiffer baseline valving. Basically what I'm saying is that it can still be set up to ride just as smooth as the VR1, but when it comes time to get rowdy and playful, it can handle more. Ergonomically speaking, the Matrix-based XCR is darn near perfect. I haven't met a single person who sat on our XCR and didn't immediately feel comfortable. Everything is where it should be. You never feel like you have to look for a feature or function. It's just right there when you reach for it. The 7S display is easy to read, easy to use, and has all the functionality you could possibly want. Moving around on the sled is effortless, and the ergonomics for both sitting and stand-up riding are both comfortable for a wide variety of riders. If there's one thing about a Matrix-based Polaris sled we are sure about, it's that it is the best handling snowmobile on the snow for typical trail riding. It corners predictably and inspires confidence in all conditions. It's flickable, will lift its skis on command, and is generally just really fun to ride. It's also very capable in the big bumps when standing up, but this is one area it falls behind its competition. It can handle bumps at speed, but it's nowhere near as stable or composed as the Rave RE.
SNOWTRAX is sponsored by Hercules Tire. Ride on our strength.
So let's talk about the Lynx Rave RE, but is it called a Rave or is it a Rav A? The guys from Lynx who designed this sled are adamant that it is Rav A, which, for this Canadian, fits just fine. What makes it a worthy contender for our coveted real-world Sled of the Year award this season is first, and least importantly, it has a cool factor no sled in North America has had for decades. Does that make it a better ride? No, but it definitely makes owning it more fun. When it comes to the more tangible stuff though, the Rave RE has all of the boxes checked. Under the hood, you'll find BRP's much revered 850 ATAC. This motor is renowned for its fuel and oil economy and strong power from engagement all the way to full shift. It is clutched a little hard, so it does feel more abrupt to ride at lower trail speeds, but up on the pipe where the Rave RE is designed to be run, this 850 feels strong. When it comes to ergonomics, pretty much all of our test riders agreed that the Rave RE fits and feels comfortable. Taller riders may benefit from a 1-inch taller bar riser, but thanks to its rider-centric cockpit, moving around on this sled both sitting and standing is effortless and it's comfortable to ride even for long days in the saddle. Based on what we have traditionally understood about suspension design and how it affects handling, the Rave RE really shouldn't handle as well as it does. The PPS rear skid is fully uncoupled, which means it transfers weight like crazy and pulls awesome wheelies, but only when you want it to. This really is the secret to why the Rave RE is such a good all-round trail sled. If you want to get more rowdy and playful, simply move your weight backwards and get ready for a good time. But if you want to rail corners on the trail, you simply move your weight forward. Then the skis stay on the ground and handling becomes incredibly precise and predictable. No abrupt inside ski lift, no excessive under or oversteer. The outside ski bites into the snow and the Rave RE just rails corners. I saved talking about ride quality for last because this is really where the Rave RE stands alone in my opinion. It's also where you really have to talk about this sled in context. Unlike the XCR, the Rave RE has been designed specifically for rough trail riding in Scandinavia, where the vast majority of trails are ungroomed. The fact that it does actually make a great groomed trail sled is actually more of a surprise than anything else. Now, why am I saying all this? It's because the Rave RE, with the factory shock set to full soft, does ride stiffer for typical trail riding than the XCR. But when you understand the true purpose of this sled, you begin to see that this stiffer ride is not a bad thing. This is because when you attack those incredibly rough trails with the suspension turned up even just a bit, the Rave RE is an absolute weapon. Its rear suspension feels bottomless, and the chassis remains completely stable even when the bumps are off camber or uneven. I have never ridden a sled that can chew up bumps like a Rave RE, but there's more to love about the handling of this sled than just its ability to soak up the gnar. The chassis sensitivity to rider positioning combined with its uncoupled PPS3 skid frame make the Rave RE the most fun and playful sled this industry has ever seen. It wheelies on command. It'll pop off any little lip or bump. You can actually steer the sled with the skis in the air simply by moving your weight from side to side. For anyone who remembers Polaris's axis-based Pro X, it had very similar ride and handling characteristics, but the Rave RE takes it all to a whole different level. If this was all the Rave RE could do, it wouldn't be worthy of our Sled of the Year title, but because it can also handle like it's on rails when you want it to, it's definitely worthy. So how do we pick between these two sleds? They are both incredibly versatile for both smooth and rough trail riding. The XCR has the upper hand when the trails are smoother, but the Rave RE just continues to shine brighter and brighter the rougher the trail gets. Ergonomically, they are both excellent. They both have fantastic 850 engine packages. They both handle amazing. From a features perspective, the XCR's 7S display is a plus, but the Rave RE's KYB Pro 46 shock package is next level suspension. And there are many reasons that all of our test crew, including AJ and myself, agree that the 2022 Lynx Rave RE with 850 ATAC under the hood is SNOWTRAX TV's real-world sled of the year. First, it's because it's such a fun sled to ride. A fun sled is hard to quantify. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what makes it so fun. But there's no denying the fact that the Rave RE has that magic combination of whatever ingredients are required for a sled to be deemed, you guessed it, fun. It's flickable, it loves to be jumped, it can wheelie through the biggest whoops, it instills the highest level of confidence in the roughest conditions, and it can rail the tightest corners. It's comfortable to sit on, comfortable to stand up on, and has that rare cool factor. It just makes you want to keep riding and never stop. In our opinion, it captures the true essence of what snowmobiling should be. It's the kind of sled that leaves you with a permanent grin inside your helmet every time you ride it. It's time for me to be completely honest with you guys. Yamaha doesn't have any new models for 2023, but what they are doing is expanding some of their most popular features to more models, and they're actually dropping a couple models from their lineup. Here's what's up. In terms of what's new, power steering gets spread farther across the Sidewinder lineup. Pretty much every trail-focused Sidewinder model now has it standard. It was a feature Yamaha customers loved, so Yamaha is making sure more of them can enjoy it. Interestingly, the SR Viper does not get power steering. It is more of a price point model for Yamaha, but I would like to see a version with power steering in the future. So what new models do get power steering? There will be many Go Fast guys happy to hear the SRX now comes with it, as well as the LTX LE. In fact, the only trail-focused Sidewinder that does not come with power steering for 2023 is the more price-conscious LTX SE. The next piece of news from Yamaha for 2023 is that, at least for this coming season, there's no word if this is a permanent change or not, but all Japanese-built chassis are now out of the lineup. This means no more Venture, no VK540 or VK Professional. Yamaha says the reason they aren't offering these models in 2023 is because they were actually able to build extra of these in 2022 and still have enough available to satisfy demand for this coming season. This will allow them to focus all 2023 production on the higher volume units like the Vipers and the Sidewinders. The only other changes to report from Yamaha in 2023 is that the XTX LE now gets IQS suspension and all Venom models now get high and low hot grips. The news from Yamaha this coming season is similar to what it's been over the past few seasons. Incremental improvements across the lineup guided by input from actual Yamaha buyers. For 2023, Arctic Cat is releasing one new model and bringing back an old favorite. The rest of the lineup receives incremental changes. All Blast models get one update across the entire lineup, and that is the inclusion of high and low hot grips on every model. It seems like a small thing, but it makes a big difference. Another change made across the entire lineup of Arctic Cat snowmobiles is the naming structure. There are no longer multiple trim levels like Snow Pro and RR for each model. Each model now comes in one trim level with a combination of the most popular features. It certainly makes things simple, but for any of you who are upset about not being able to get an RR next season, there is a new model coming just for you. The 6000 RXC is, not close to, not kinda, but is Arctic Cat's cross-country race sled now available for consumers. To say this sled is serious is an understatement. The 6000 series motor sees a long list of changes, including a 12-pound lighter exhaust can. The engine itself has been tuned to make maximum power at 7,000 RPM, and yes, I said that correctly. The seat is a bizarre two-level unit with an area for sitting and a cutout area in the front that allows your leg to sit lower on the tank when you're hanging way off the side of the sled in the corner. It looks weird, but it works amazing, especially when combined with the 43.5-inch ski stands. There are other changes to this model that make it capable of handling the abuse of cross-country racing, but you'll have to watch our test ride to find out everything. For now, you'll just have to trust me when I say this sled shreds in the twisties. For 2023, both Arctic Cat and Yamaha have set their sights on making their current lineup of sleds even better versus bringing a whole bunch of new stuff to market. And the truth is, these really are the best Arctic Cat and Yamaha snowmobiles they've ever built.
2022 has certainly been quite a season for snowmobiling, and when it comes to the Revolutionary Advanced Design Award, or RAD, there's one product that stands out above the rest. And you know our rules. Much like Sled of the Year, we require the technology to be used for a full season to prove itself. No picking something that's new and untested. And with many miles on multiple sleds equipped with this new technology, the verdict's in and all of our test riders agree. And Skidoo's SmartShock technology has taken the ride quality of the already exceptional 2022 Rev G4 to a completely new level. The SmartShock system, which is the industry's first semi-active suspension, has given the rider control over the desired level of suspension compliance they desire based on the three-position rocker switch setting of Comfort, Sport, and Sport Plus. Now, as if this wasn't enough, Skidoo took the SmartShock system to the next level by adding in multiple sensors on the throttle, chassis, and shocks, while incorporating an electric brain that reads all the input and then instantaneously adjusts the suspension settings while you're riding. This smart design means the sled is actually calibrating and adjusting each shock up to 50 times per second, based on feedback from the trail and rider inputs, alleviating the need to stop, get off your sled, and manually adjust your suspension clickers. It's not only a massive time-saving feature, it most importantly is a feature you will feel the benefits of the first time the trail deteriorates and moguls appear, or when railing a corner with perfectly flat precision. Skidoo's SmartShock's semi-adjustable suspension takes the guesswork out of adjusting your suspension and stills rider confidence along with next-level ride quality through innovative, seamless technology integration. And it's for this reason that we're excited to award Skidoo's SmartShock system the 2022 SNOWTRAX Rad Award.
SNOWTRAX has been sponsored by Polaris, think outside. Yamaha, revs your heart. The regions of Quebec by the sea. Discover our ride ideas. FXR Racing, maximum versatility for all conditions. And by Arctic Cat Snowmobiles.
This right here is the 2023 Riot 9000 ATAC EPS C-Tech 4 with the 9000 four-stroke in it. That is a mouthful for a snowmobile, but what's cool is that this is such an awesome sled for 2023. Now, Arctic Cat has taken all the good stuff out of the Thundercat with the EPS, the ATAC suspension, as well as the 9000 turbo, and they went ahead and they dumped it into a Riot, which is a great sled. I mean, it's got the heated seat, it's got all the cool gadgets and gizmos on it. They just went ahead and put a 146-inch slide action rear suspension in. This Riot is not the Riot X. I consider this to be an on-trail sled, even though it has a 146-inch rear skid. The reason I say that is because the track on this is a 1.352 Cobra. And if anybody knows a 1.352 Cobra, they know it really isn't all that good off trail, even when it's 146 inches in length. Now, the slide action rear suspension is also one of those ones that works great on the trail. Off trail, it'll do the job, but with a 1.352, you really don't have all that much lug to get yourself around when the powder gets deep. So for me, the Riot is an on-trail sled. You can play a little bit off trail, but really I think you're gonna have the most fun with this Riot, keeping it on the trails. So this really is what's new from Arctic Cat for 2023 when it comes to the Riot, the 9000 being in this sled. And another one of the reasons why I say that I think you'll be more happy on trail with this Riot is because that 200 class four-stroke turbo, well, it's not all that light. And when you play off trail, light is right. So I find it to be really comfortable on trail. And you know that that 9000 power is impressive, strong, fun. I mean, when you're on the trail with a 146-inch track and you squeeze the throttle, this thing lifts the skis, and there is no possible way that that track can keep traction. There is just too much horsepower going to the ground. Now, along with those reasons for keeping it on trail is the fact that it has ATAC and EPS as well. Those two things do add some weight to this sled, which is already a heavier sled due to the fact that it has the four-stroke in it, so it really is at home on the trail. But a lot of that kind of sounds like, oh, well, maybe AJ doesn't like this sled. Not at all. If you keep this thing on the trail and play a little bit off trail, you are going to have a blast. I love the handling characteristics of it. I like the ergonomics of this snowmobile. It feels comfortable, it feels right. The seating position is great. It's all day comfort. And I honestly, the wind protection from it as well, something where I am right now, it's actually fairly cold. I find it to be very warm and comfortable. It does have a little bit of a higher windshield on it, but as I get older, I appreciate these taller windshields because they're keeping me warm. When you get down to some of the finer details about this sled, ATAC suspension, it really gives you control over the trail. And when you're out there, you know, riding through, maybe you're playing a little bit off trail, maybe you're, you know, heading up the mountain a little bit, but you're sticking most to the trails themselves. The ATAC suspension, on the way down at the end of the day, you can bump this thing up without having to get off and change those suspension settings. You don't have to do it. It just does it right from the hand controls. I really appreciate that. And on a sled that's going to stick mostly to the trails, this is a huge benefit. But should you take it off trail and say you find a big powder pillow or something that you want to jump off of, well, just bump the shocks up to high and you're ready to go because your compression is full stiff. It's very nice. It works really well. It's got 3 settings, so it's not too hard to figure out. And the results that you get from it are, you know, really beneficial. These Fox shocks, the IQS shocks, are a really high quality damper, both front and rear. We're not oblivious to the fact that Arctic Cat has had this chassis for a little while, but what I do appreciate about what Arctic Cat's doing for 2023 is taking a whole lot of goodness and packaging it into a new vehicle. The Riot has never had a 9000 in it. For this season, they deliver that along with ATAC, along with EPS, along with the heated seats. So essentially, this is like a Thundercat in a Riot. And it is a lot of fun, and it will go off trail, but it does do a great job riding on trail. So for me, this is for that guy who looked at the Thundercat and said, nah, that's just not my sled. This is the next step up. It delivers a lot of performance in a lot of different areas, much more wide range than I would say the Thundercat is. And for 2023, I think it's a great offering, and it's something that Arctic Cat is able to do with the current chassis that they have.